morning, good day. I am your host, Coach Dr. Danny Pueblos, and today I have my good friend and professional musician and friend of the show, Haley Copello. How you doing, Haley?
Hey, Danny, I'm doing great. How are you?
Hey, another beautiful day in SoCal. I'm excited to get this summertime started here pretty soon. Starting to warm up, trying to hit the pool, trying to do that. What do they call it now? Like, what do the kids call hot boy, hot girl summer, or something like that? I don't know.
Hot girl summer. Hot
Hot
girl
girl.
summer. It's all about the
Yeah.
hot girl summer.
I got to do the hot guy somewhere, or whatever the hell that is.
Yes.
Like trying to get out there. So Haley, I appreciate you coming on and sharing your experience and I definitely think that you can bring some value to the listeners about your time in music. I know you and I met through my brother Matt Pueblos, who you play with him for many years now. It's always a pleasure seeing you do your thing and seeing you develop, and doing your thing and doing what you love, and so that's why I wanted to bring you on, just to share your experiences and talk about, what the journey that has led you to where you are today. So thank you again for coming on.
Of course. Anytime. I'm super excited.
Absolutely. So I know you had mentioned to me that um, you got your start early in music, right? I know some people that they say, yeah, I didn't get started till like high school and so forth, but that kind of love and experience started with like in elementary school, right?
Yeah, it's kind of crazy because when I was in kindergarten, the bands that were in our elementary schools and high schools were like the thing to be in. And they had, our elementary school band had over like 150, 200 kids in it, and the high school band was like double that. So when I saw the band for the first time, I think I was like in first grade or kindergarten. I was like, that's what I want to do. I don't know what I want to do in it, but that's what I want to do. They had the cummerbunds and the sparkly suspenders. I'm like, oh, I need that in my life.
Yeah.
So that is, but you couldn't be in band until fifth grade. So when I was in fifth grade is when I joined. I wanted to play clarinet, but they had too many clarinets, so they put me on cornet, which I don't know if a lot of people know that, but I played trumpet for a really long time. I
Oh,
was never great at it, but that was my first instrument. Yeah.
yeah. See, a lot of people are probably learning new things by listening to you right now. It's awesome. Even people that we both know,
Yeah. And then moving on to high school, one of my really good friends played the flute, and I was like, oh, I want to play the flute too. So it was one of those things where I was one girl out of like 30 trumpet players that were all guys, and I was really shy and not confident, and like I am now.
Mhm.
But I was very intimidated by being around all these guys, and I'm the only girl. So I moved to flute and I played with all the girls, and I felt more, confident in that aspect when I went to high school. And then I was like, no, I want to be a drummer. So I in high school I played flute and drums. So yeah, that's where I started.
Nice. So you've been all over. You've been all over with trumpet, the flute, the percussion,
Yeah, a little bit of everything.
and yeah. So like I bring yourself back a little bit. Like what would you say kind of got you motivated to get into music?
Um, I would say what motivated me back then or now.
Well, both. You could talk about kind of your journey, your experience from then until now, as far as like motivation, how that might have changed for you.
Well, I would say when I was in a high school, it was just the people. It
Mhm.
was everyone had such a good time. It was like band was the place to be in. I think it pushed me to my limits because I'll admit I was not the best flute player or drummer, but I had to work so hard. And even my teachers said, yeah, Haley, like you struggled, but I mean, you were one of the hardest workers, because I wanted to be the best and I didn't want to let anybody down. But my skills weren't as good as somebody, the other people next to me, just because they were naturally gifted with it and they could just hear something and know what to do when I had to struggle and practice and practice. So,
Mhm.
you know, that definitely motivated me to be better. But then when I got into college, in my hometown, grew up in Sonora, California. It's near Yosemite. I joined a jazz group, but it wasn't like your traditional jazz singing group. It was more, it was you were free to pretty much sing whatever you wanted, which I loved. And we actually sang backup for Barbara Morrison, who, bless her soul, passed away this year. And it was, I in that moment we were singing Signed, Sealed, Delivered backup, and everyone was having so much fun. And in that moment, I was like,
Yeah.
this is what I want to do for the rest of my life, because it was so much fun. It was this feeling inside of me that was like, this is the best experience, and I want to hold on to this feeling for as long as I can. And that's when I decided to move down to Southern California and to pursue my journey.
That's awesome. I mean, that sounds like a
Yeah.
great experience. I mean, and just like that, it sounds like it was that spark you needed to kind of shift you and help you start your next chapter, right? Because I
Yeah,
know,
exactly.
I know it was like once you went through that whole that time there at that college, um, I know it was like a transition to what, because were you singing up until that point, or like talk to me like when singing started for you?
So I never thought of myself as a singer ever. I did. I was more into the acting and fashion. My
Mhm.
uncle is a fashion designer, and he does furniture work. And so I was gonna go out into San Francisco and take some fashion classes and some acting classes, because I loved musical theater. I always, did musical theater every year in high school. That was my passion. So fashion and acting. But then I had this desire to try a singing class, in my college. And surprisingly, I was decent. And my mom was like, "What the heck?" Like, she came to my concert. I was 18, and she was like, "I would have never thought of you singing." I'm like, "Neither did I. It just happened." And so it stemmed from that.
Nice. So, and up until that point, so I know that experience, serving as a backup singer. Like, what happened next? Like, when you came to that realization of like, this is what I want to do. Like, when you realize, like, hey, I think I could sing a little bit here. Like what wasn't that? What were the next steps for you to kind of get that next chapter going for you?
Well, it was kind of, I don't know how to explain it. It was like a mush of all these different things.
Uh,
So I was 18. I worked at the same jobs. I worked at Baskin Robbins and this restaurant job in my hometown, and I was going to school. And
yeah.
all my friends did their 2 years at the college, and they were moving on to, Cal State Fullerton. They were moving out into Southern California. I didn't want to be left behind. I
Mm.
probably could have done a few more years at my junior college and, you know, worked on my craft a little bit more. But for some reason, I was like, I don't want to feel like I'm left behind. All my friends are moving on. We all went to school together. I don't want to be the one to stay working at Baskin Robbins. Best job ever, but I don't want to be left behind. So
Yeah.
I I decided to move when I was 20 years old to Southern California. I had maybe $1,000 in my pocket, had no idea what I was doing, and moved down here with my roommates. And that's, where it stemmed from. I had to take a leap of faith. I didn't know what I was doing. I don't know how I was doing it. I was just doing it because I knew that I wanted a change. And I think change is hard for people. It's still hard for me today, but sometimes you just have to take those leaps of faith because you don't know what's going to happen.
Sure. Yeah, and that's a great point that I'm glad you brought up, because a lot of times, like especially when people move, like when like you said, you moved to SoCal, not knowing what the hell was going to happen. That's a big leap of faith, right? It's one thing to like to change, a job or career like where you're at, but like to pick up and move with so much money in your pocket and not know, okay, like I'm going in, somewhat blind here.
Yeah.
That's your like that's definitely a leap of faith. And a lot of times people are so with anything, I would say there is this preoccupation or worry about what can happen. What if I don't make it? What if I mess up? What if I fail? and then that puts a stop to their decision. They're like, I'm not going to do it because I can't,
100%.
so like, what helped you get over that? What helped you continue to move forward, even though like you didn't know what the heck was going to be here when you came down to SoCal?
Well, when I came down here, it was for me, I was really blessed due to the fact that I had 3 other, girls that I was moving with. So
Mhm.
we weren't by ourselves, we were together and we all knew each other, and that was awesome, and their families live down here, so it was a lot easier for us to adjust. It
Mhm.
was hard because, I had to find a job, and I took whatever job I could find, and, I had to work and go to school, and I was going to Fullerton College, which I don't want to get too much into Fullerton College, but for me, going from a school where you felt so like, I don't want to say empowered, but you felt so happy and you felt like you were learning so much and you didn't feel judged. And then you went to a school where, you know, everyone is really good and everyone has this level of, and like, by the way, I just started singing, so I don't have all this theory knowledge. My school didn't have music theory, it got cut. Like,
Mhm.
there was a lot of things that I don't know that a lot of other of these kids do know, and so I just felt really just secluded by myself. It was really difficult because I felt like Fullerton College was not the place for me,
Mhm.
and it was really intimidating, and I felt like I didn't belong there, and so that was a hard adjustment. And I ended up quitting school at Fullerton because I just couldn't do it.
Mhm.
But a lot of my friends went there, and a lot of musicians that I work with now have gone there, and they're amazing musicians. It just didn't work for me.
Sure.
So
Yeah, and I think that part of your journey definitely helped shape you to where you are now, right? And even like
yeah,
building the relationships, as you mentioned, with the musicians that you played with in the past and that you continue to play with today. So talk to me about that. Talk to me about like that journey, the next step of like, okay, now that the college, that whole experience is in the rearview mirror. Like, talk to me about what it's been like, you know, going for gigs, getting exposure, all that stuff.
yeah, of course. So it's kind of weird. If we take it all the way back, I had no idea. I knew that I wanted to write music. I wanted to record music. I didn't know how to do it. I didn't know where to go. I didn't know who to trust.
Mhm.
And the first thing that I learned about moving down here is there if coming from a small town where everyone knows each other, coming down to this huge city, I've learned that you can't trust a lot of people. You have to find genuine connections.
Mhm.
And it's really funny because I didn't know where to go. I didn't know what musicians to play with. It's the connections that I made through my journey, and all the people that I've met have really helped push my career. So, for example, I worked at Forever 21. That was one of the first jobs that I had when I moved down here. I was 20 years old, and I went to Starbucks in the mall, and I didn't have enough money, so I left, went back downstairs at Forever 21 at my job, came back, got more money because I didn't have enough for my drink. And this woman approached me, and to this day, she's one of my best friends. And I don't know how old she was at the time. She was probably in her 50s, but we made a genuine connection. She was like, "Oh my gosh, I love your style. You look like you're so much fun." She did makeup, and she was wondering if she could use me for like some modeling project that she was doing. And I'm like, "Yeah, I would love that." And she was dressed up really nice in a suit. Come to find out, she recorded music at Love and Laughter Music in Anaheim. And I told her, "Well, I'm a musician." And she's like, "Oh, you have to check out the studio that I'm at." So just from that one connection that I met or that I made, because she approached me, I recorded my first 3 tracks at Love and Laughter, and because she told me about them. So that was the very first connection that I made when I moved down here.
Wow.
So from that connection, I met, you know, Lisa, Joey, Josh, all these amazing people at Love and Laughter. which your brother actually, I think, is recording his album there.
Okay. Oh,
So with
interesting. Okay, I didn't know that. Now I
yeah,
do. All right.
yeah, with ESP. I don't know
Yeah.
if that's a
Yeah.
secret or not, but I'm outing it. So
There we go.
so they're
Exclusive news.
recording
Here we go.
there. Yeah, so they're recording there.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of the a lot of my friends I introduced to, I don't know if I'm the connector to them, but a lot of our musician friends, we all are connected, and a lot of that stems from, me being at Love and Laughter when I first recorded. So from that, I made all these other connections. I recorded my first 3 songs, which you can check out on Spotify. But those were when I was like 21. So I've grown so much since then. But you just, the connections that you make, you don't know where it's going to lead to. So that is like where my journey started.
Yeah, and that's, I can't tell you how many times I've heard that with musicians or just people in general, even in my field and in sports psychology, performance psychology, just you just sometimes it's right place at the right time, or some people will call it luck, but I'm a firm believer of we have to make our own luck sometimes, right? Sometimes it's pure luck, we just happen to be in the right place, right time. Sometimes it's just like even if we are at the right place, right time, we have to make that decision to talk to a person, and all of a sudden
Exactly.
we're having a good conversation, and they're like, oh, like you do what, right? Or it's just
Exactly.
like networking, going to events,
Mhm.
or putting ourselves out there, reaching out to people, having informational interviews, right? Like that stuff, being active, and like that increases that luck factor or whatever you want to call it, right? Because some people think that my shot's coming, and luck is going to happen to me by sitting on their hands, and it's like it's most of the time it doesn't work that way, but it's like by putting
Mm,
yourself out there, by talking to people, networking, going to these events, doing free stuff, free events in your case, or if I'm giving free workshops, like it just takes that one person and say, hey, I'm so and so, I do this, let's just talk, right? And it's like not only do you build a genuine connection, right? Because
mhm.
I don't just do that just to like for business purposes. Like I generally love people. I love talking to people, love learning people, and love building new relationships. And if it leads to something else, hey, it's a cherry on top. It's a little bonus for me, and that's why I built so many connections. And and it's great that you were able to do that, and you're like a testament to that.
Yeah, that's it's huge because, I've met people through my journey that will use you to get to the net to help them get to the next step. And I
Hmm.
see those people and they're failing, and it's because they don't have a genuine connection. I genuinely love the people that come to my shows, come to my performances, and they are my friends, and they're going to follow you through your whole journey, and see your progress, and they're going to support you. And everyone needs a support system. No one's going to make it in this world without one. And yeah, there's some people that don't like to socialize, and that's totally okay. But I mean, for me, being a performer and being on stage, getting the audience involved, and making those connections, it's huge. Like, I love doing that. That's why I love what I do, because it's so much fun. When people are in the audience singing your originals or singing along to the song that you're singing, there's this empowerment of, wow, like I'm doing something to make you feel good. Like the fact that I can make another person feel like they had the best time of their life and they enjoyed their evening, like that's the best feeling for me.
Yeah, I can't imagine that feeling of like having people sing your song. I mean, that's like, that's great, and that means that you made an impact on their lives, right? And all these struggles, because I know, just from you, from my brother, other musicians that I've met through him, and in my life of how challenging it could be, like of how like trying to get that exposure and to get gigs, and like even going back to what you mentioned with the support system, like those are the people who are going to those gigs, that the small little dive bars or the backyards,
Yeah.
and all the people who are there with you and for you every step of the way, and to now like you're performing these big venues, like, you know, the people who were there since day one, you know, or the people
Yeah, exactly. Those are the
you,
people that you're gonna give them free VIP tickets one day, you know?
yeah, because yeah, I seen it, and like, so talk to me about that. You know, and talk to me about just like that challenge that, that probably most people don't realize, like people who are not in music, maybe they don't see that goes on behind the scenes as far as getting those gigs or trying to get exposure, trying to get yourself out there, get your name, all that. Like, talk to me a little bit about what that looks.
Yeah. Well, so I don't I don't know if a lot of people understand that. I mean, everyone's journey is different. So for my journey right now, it is, you know, writing music. That's a struggle. You have to record music, for your originals. Everyone wants to hear the song. I pay for it out of my own pocket. But as a musician, a lot of people don't understand that we don't get paid a lot. And these gigs, you have to hustle, you got to find them, you have to make yourself seem interesting. The majority of booking people are the bartenders, which, bless their souls, like, they're all amazing. I love bartenders, but it's hard to get a hold of them. They don't There's a lot of unorganization. It's a hustle. You have to consistently be booking, but then also it's like you're not making that much money, so you also have a part-time job. So that's where I'm at also. So it's like, how do you balance your part-time job and being a musician, trying to be full-time? It's a lot to balance. And then also you have to advertise yourself, and it's hard to do that. You need a manager, you need a bigger support team that's above you, but when you have to have the following in today's world, like in today's music industry, because so many people are doing music. Anyone can just upload anything and it's on Spotify, so you have this huge pool of musicians to choose from. So you have to have a following already. If you don't have a million followers or a bajillion followers already, it's like management people aren't even going to look at you. There's a lot that goes in behind the scenes that puts a lot of pressure on a musician, and a lot of people give up. I've seen many people that I know in our, little group of musicians that have given up, and they're amazing. And not saying that I'm great, because I know I have a lot of work to, do still vocally and just on everything. But I'm not giving up because I know it's what I want to do for the rest of my life. But it's sad to see people give up because it's really hard. It's a very hard industry to be in.
Yeah. So what is it that kind of gets you, that keeps you motivated, that prevents you from like giving up? Because I know it can be very easy to. It can be very easy
Yeah.
to
Oh, it'd
say,
be
you know
so
what?
easy.
Because I mean, again, I've heard from you and other musicians like my brother and other people how challenging it can be, and you're like, and you have people all around you telling you when you're gonna move on to the next chapter, your next phase in your life, when you're gonna do this or that, and it's like, especially when something that you love so much, I can see how that could be just
Yeah.
like this dilemma that you constantly face of like, what do I do? You know?
The reason why I don't give up is because, like I told you, I dropped out of school to do this. I already knew what I wanted to do. And I think about, I'm a server, and I like serving. I make decent money, but it doesn't make me happy like the way
Mhm.
music makes me happy. And I think it's just like it stems back from that first experience where I was so happy and performing, in that moment. I was like, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. And I think about quitting right now, and it's like, what would I do? What would I do if I were to quit right now? Like, I don't know what else I would do that makes me that happy, you know? I don't know what my calling would be, because, this is the one thing I'm one of those people, and I feel like some artists are like that. When you have something that you're dreaming of and that you work really hard for, it can be challenging, and sometimes you drift off in different directions. Like, I don't know, like back in COVID, I was so depressed because all my gigs got canceled. And I'm like, I'm going to be a baker. Oh, I'm going to be a photographer. Oh, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. But then it ends up being just like this little, 1 month situation and then I drift back to music. It's like I always come back to it because I know that's what I want to do.
Mhm.
It's the one thing that makes me happy. It's the one thing that I know that, I enjoy, and other people, they tell me all the time, "Oh my gosh, that was so great. We enjoyed that so much." And when people praise you for something that you do, it makes you feel good about yourself. Not to sound like conceited or anything in any way, but it
Yeah.
makes you feel good when someone says, "Hey, like you were great," and then they put 20 bucks in your tip jar or whatever. It's like, okay, I'm doing something good.
Yeah. No, I know exactly how I feel. I mean, I get that when I'm working with clients, or like if I'm teaching my class and I have a student come up to me and say, "Hey, like I learned so much, I grew from your class." And I tell them like that means a lot. I know you might not seem like a lot, but it means a lot knowing that I made some sort of impact. And because like I don't know, even yourself, like you're putting your music out there, you're doing this and that, and you're like, I mean, I know you kind of gauge from like audience and stuff like that, but in general, like you don't really know like how people are receiving this, how well like it's my music going, and that's why it's kind of like. But then you get those times, those people coming up to you, telling you like, and it kind of reignites the little flame, right? It's like, okay, like this is why, like, and
Yeah,
I'm on the right path, doing something right, you know.
exactly. You said something that kind of struck me right now. You know, you're going to have the people that come up to you and that are going to love what you do. But then it's like, I know that there's been moments where people are probably like, oh, that girl is like, whatever. But I don't care. Like, I don't care what other people think
Mhm.
because I love what I do. And I've had so many experiences throughout my journey that have made me so much stronger um now than I was before, that I don't care what other people think. I know we talked about this a long time ago, but back in 2018, I did a little episode on the Steve Harvey show and I sang, and I was so nervous, and I told you about that, right? I think
Yeah, it's been
how
a while. We talked about it.
Yeah, so I talked to Steve Harvey. It was aired on his show. We were talking about, he has a book about jumping and flying, about his journey on how, his story. And I really loved his, you should check it out. His story about jumping and flying and taking that leap of faith, because you don't know what's going to happen. He's like, I did it and look at me now. And so we talked about that, and he asked me to sing a cappella, and I sang one of my originals. Oh my goodness. I'm telling you, it was the most terrifying moment of my life because, first of all, I don't have a track I'm singing to. I don't have anything. I'm singing an original a cappella, and
Mhm.
I felt like someone punched me in the stomach and I could not breathe. It was awful. And it had like millions of views on his Facebook page. It's still on there. You can find it. I'll send you the link.
Okay.
But I mean, I was like in I don't know, I was like 26,
Yeah.
27 or something like that. And I was so nervous, and people were like, she sucks. Like, she's never going to make it. She's never going to get paid gigs. She's never going to do this. She's never going to do that. And I'm just laughing. And my mentality was, instead of, feeling sorry for myself or something, I was laughing and I was just like, oh, I feel like a celebrity because celebrities get trolled all the time. And now I finally made it.
Yeah.
So it's just the way you perceive things. You have to have a positive
Yeah.
attitude, and you can't let other people affect you.
Exactly. You hit on a key word, perception, right? That perception, how you view your situation, because you can see how, like, if someone else were in that situation and they were reading through the comments, which is probably a big no-no, I would imagine. Like, when people, because yeah, you get those trolls, you get those keyboard warriors that just they'll hide behind a fake account or whatever and just troll people.
It's
That's
like, what's the point? Like, what's
yeah.
the point of doing that? To make you
I'll never understand. I just like
yeah.
they go
I
through just hating on people.
It's like, what's the point of that? I
Yeah,
feel like people do that because they are not happy with their own lives, and they say
right.
stuff like that to make themselves feel better.
Yeah,
Definitely, we all have our opinions. We all have one. Trust me,
yeah,
like when I see stuff online, I'm like, oh, girl, that was a rough. But at the same time, I'm not going to comment on it or say something because I'm not going to do that. That's mean.
yeah,
So, yeah.
yeah, yeah. It's and that's why, like I said, that there are people who, like, in that same position, would have looked at all that, and especially if they already had some sort of self doubt, if they were feeling like am I in going in the right direction? And all of a sudden that happens, like something like that happens, like that could be in their minds, the perception, that could be their like that confirmation of, well, maybe this isn't for me then. Like that just confirmed it. Like, and all these people that are saying I suck, all these people were saying I'm not good enough. What is she doing on there? They're right. And all of a sudden, and that's where that journey ends for them, you know. And that's where that perception of, hey, you know what, yeah, I was in that moment, and you know, whatever happened to happen, and there are people who supported me, there are people who were trolling me, but guess what, I don't give a shit, you know, like that's the mentality I'm gonna have. And that's what keeps people going, that's what keeps people like, because yeah, one thing that I've learned in my past is like you can't please everyone, right? I mean,
You no.
regardless of what you do, how well you do it, there are always going to be haters. And actually, by the way, the more success you get, the more haters that come along with it. So that's,
Exactly.
you know, so that's a given. And but I know it's a very real thing, you know, especially like, I don't know, have you ever experienced like imposter syndrome, where you start thinking like, I'm here, I'm doing well, I'm succeeding, but I don't know if I'm like good enough. Like, do you know what I'm talking about? Like, has that ever
Yeah.
crossed your mind before?
Yeah, it has. It's like I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. I know this is what I'm supposed to be doing, but do I have what it takes to go all the way? Like, I think that all the time because, I've spent thousands and thousands of dollars, on my music. And
Mhm.
by the way, I have new music coming out that I haven't released yet. But I mean,
Awesome.
I've been spending so much money on it. And I think for me, it's, am I good enough? Are my songs good enough? I can't even tell you, when I was in my early 20s, it's like I would always think, what am I doing wrong? I feel like I'm doing everything right. Why hasn't it happened for me yet? And I mean, I feel like everyone has their own path, and you just have to follow it. You just have to keep going. You just got to keep doing what you're doing, and hopefully, uh, it's hard because it's like, what is success to you? Like, what is success? And I always say that to myself all the time. When am I going to be satisfied? Am I going to be on stage singing for millions of people? Is that what success is? Or, for me, it's just doing music full time, being able to, you know, get music on a TV show or something, make an income from it. I obviously, one day if it happened for me, it'd be great. But, I just want to be able to live off of it. And then I feel like that's when I'll know I've made it. But I always want to keep striving to be bigger and better. But you always have that self doubt, like you said, like, am I good enough? Because it hasn't happened yet. Those things haven't happened, but I have to just stay in my path and keep going because, not to sound full of myself or anything, but I've had a lot of amazing things happen that a lot of people haven't had happen to
Mhm.
them, and I'm super grateful. Like, I got to meet Steve Harvey and got to talk to him, and I got to sing to him. It wasn't the best performance of my life, but it was a fun experience. I've got to take my whole band to San Francisco, which your brother was included in that.
Uh-huh.
And that was so much fun. One of the best experiences of my life, to travel with my band and perform on a stage for in San Francisco was amazing. There's a lot of things that I've gotten to do, and I'm just truly blessed for it. But that's because I've been staying in my path, and I'm still going and working and not giving up, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, because I mean, it's, and thank you for sharing that. Because yeah, that's that imposter syndrome, and I talked about it with other guests too. Is like, it's so common, and you know, people don't realize that there's actually a name for it. Like, yeah, it's a real it's a real thing that people experience. I know I have, of like, yeah, I mean, especially in those moments of doubt, especially when, you know, you're on this trajectory, it's going up and up, and all of a sudden adversity hits you, right? And then those thoughts start to come in.
Hmm.
Am I doing, is this what I'm supposed to be doing? You know, am I good enough to make it to where, you know, where I see all my colleagues and other people that I either know personally or not, I'm seeing them do all these things that I feel I should be at that point. And then all of a sudden you start to compare yourself with other people. And a lot of times when
Yeah.
we compare ourselves to other people, we get let down. And that's what I tell people. It's like, instead of doing that, compare yourself to the person you were yesterday and say, how can I get better? How can I grow? While also at the same time giving ourselves some self-love and appreciation for where the hell we are today and what we've gone through and all the adversity that we persevered through. Because as we talked about, people have given up and they're not here while we're still kicking, you know. And
Exactly.
it's just something that, we have to constantly remind ourselves, especially in those times of doubt, those times of when that little imposter kind of creeps in a little bit and remind us, like, hey, are you sure you want to do this? Are you sure this is for you? Like it's those things that, I talked about, like the whys, like those purposes of why we're doing what we're doing.
Yeah, exactly. I I have a friend, I won't name him, but you know him, and I have a friend who is an amazing musician, and back in the day he was doing all these gigs, and he was such an inspiration to me, and I always would compare myself to him, like, why am I not doing this? Like, why am I not at his level? And I learned a lot from this musician friend, and I had to stop comparing myself. And instead of comparing myself, I had to change the narrative in my mind and be like, how can I be like him and work hard like him to get where he's at? Because that's what I want to do.
Hmm.
And it's all the way you perceive things. And I mean, I used to compare myself all the time to people. No matter what it is, you can, oh, I'm telling you, comparing yourself to someone else is the absolute worst thing you can do. Because then you're depressed. You feel sad about what you're doing when you should be happy.
Because it
It's
never
it's
measures up. It never measures up.
Yeah, exactly. No matter what you do, it could be, I've compared myself to, musicians and, work ethic. Oh, I don't work as hard as them. Like, I need to work harder. I need to work out. I need to look a certain way. I need to look like these people on TV. I need to always look amazing. Like, and then at some point I'm like, I don't care. Like, I'm going to be myself because people are going to like me for me. And if they don't, screw them.
Hmm.
And you got to be yourself. Stop comparing. That's gonna be your downfall in life. That's what I decided. I'm like, I can't do that anymore. I'm just gonna be myself and lead my own path, and that is how I'm gonna get to where I need to be.
Yeah. That's great. And it's definitely been a pleasure. Just, and I know I haven't seen you play in a while, and I know like
I
with COVID things got
know.
weird, but it's awesome to see all you guys, you and all the other musicians that I've been able to meet. Seeing you guys back out there doing what you love. And so definitely we'll be coming out to see you soon. So, and I'm just curious. So,
Yes.
like, because I know there are people who are going to be listening and either themselves, and because I've taught, like, my students will listen, and I have other people just in general listening, and people come up like, hey, I've always wanted to do this, and I heard one of your guests do, they're on there, and I want to be where they're at. So, like, for people who want to break into music, who want to work professionally and get paid for playing and do all that stuff, like, what are some advice that you would tell them of how to, like, kind of get started, or maybe they've started, but how to get to the next level?
Well, first of all, don't get a credit card and spend $20,000 on studio time. That's what I did. Don't do that. Don't do that. And don't get yourself into debt. Don't, you know, do anything stupid like that. But I would say first go to some shows, like find some local places. There's a lot of breweries here. There's a lot of places that have music. I mean, even if you come to my show or whatever, come see some live music. That's where it starts. And then on the break, go up. If you're a trumpet player and you see a horn player, go talk to them. Be like, hey, my name is blah, blah, blah. Like, how did you get started in this? Like, I'm a musician as well. I want to, jump on board, and you never know, you can make a connection there and maybe they'll have you in their band. It's all about connections and meeting people. So go out, see some live music, see some shows. If you're into reggae, go to the beach, go to Sea Legs, go check out different musicians and network and meet people. And if you're afraid of talking to people, this is your chance to take a risk, because you know, no one's going to come up to you. You have to go to them
Mhm.
and be genuine, kind, you know, kindness always goes a long way. And don't be afraid to talk to people. That's where it starts, you know. No matter what you do though, you have to take a risk and take a chance in life, because if you don't, you know, you never know, 20 years later you might regret it. You don't know what could happen. So,
Amen to that, sister. Amen.
I know. Um I you know, with my connections and meeting people, I've met, you know, so many different people. I during this I have some I work at a restaurant, and I have a gentleman who is a regular at the bar, and I say hi to him all the time. Became really good friends with him, and he's best friends with he just retired, but he was the sax player for Foreigner. And I'm
Mm,
like, "Are you kidding me?" And so during COVID, this guy named Tom Gimbel was I took some music theory lessons from him for like 7 months. And I'm like, Foreigner. I grew up listening to Foreigner. Like, I love Foreigner.
yeah.
And I got to study with him for like 6, 7 months. And it's all because I made that connection. But then this guy from Foreigner, he's also friends with this guy named Mark Schulman, who's the drummer for Pink and Cher. And guess what? He became he introduced me to him, and now he's my like a mental health coach, and just like, you know, helping me figure out life and all that kind of stuff. So it's like now I got these two musicians who I'm like working with, and I'm just like, oh my God. And that's all because I made a connection at my job and said hi to someone and was nice to someone. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
definitely start talking to people, meeting people, making genuine connections, and go to some shows, you know. Don't be afraid to go out and enjoy music if that's what you want to do. But it could be anything in life. You
Yeah.
want to do sports, go to a baseball game, you know, meet people, talk to people. It works with everything.
Sure. Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. That all that great advice you gave can definitely, with a couple of tweaks, can be applied to anything. It's just we talked about that earlier as far as like making those genuine connections and the craziest stuff happens. Like
Yeah, you never know what's going to happen.
yeah, yeah, like just you talking to the guy at the bar led to you having these like mentors in your life that have such great experience that you never would have dreamed of, as far as like just talking to just some random person that you met, at your job. And so that's what I'm saying is like, yeah, it makes sense to where you go to like a show and you talk to the musicians and networking and building those connections. Yeah, that makes sense. But like just being a good person, just being a genuine person, just, that's what I love. I love just talking to people and getting to know them. And like, and like, yeah, I get a friendship and someone that we can like do business with. And hey, we're both eating. Like that's awesome. Like we both can eat, and we're both doing well and we're helping each other out. That's just again the cherry on top of that already great friendship. So I think
Exactly.
just that you just I don't know what you want to call it, whether it's just luck, law of attraction, good energy, right? Like, but like I've always been a strong believer of like that positive brings in positive, and just you just never know where that could take you. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, of course. Actually, you said law of attraction. It was crazy because I believe in that 100%. I so I was talking about the Steve Harvey a little bit ago. There was one point where I was watching like every Steve Harvey episode. I was researching everything about him, and the law of attraction and everything that he was talking about. And then, a few days later, I got an email saying that there was tickets available for his show, and I'm like, "Oh, I'm going." I got them; they were free. They sent an email to me asking me if I wanted to ask them a question, so I did. I sent them a question. They liked my email, they liked my question, and boom, I'm on the show. And I'm like, if you think it, if you believe it, if you feel it, if you take action on it, things will happen. But you have to believe in yourself first. You have to not self-doubt yourself, if that makes sense. I don't know if I said
Yeah.
that right, but
No,
you know
yeah,
what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
you have to believe in you, and things will come to you if you believe in it. So I do believe in law of attraction.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, stuff has happened to me too. That I mean, I know there's something that obviously it doesn't happen, with you just sitting on your hands, but you have to actually believe that's the first part, and then taking action, and then like you sending all those emails, or like I know like you getting those tickets was the first step, and then all of a sudden you're emailing, you're talking to them, and you're on the show, and then boom, like that's where he goes. Just but like that again, how you want to justify how that happens up to you, but yeah, I'm a
Yeah.
true believer in that too. It's just like stuff has happened, but again, it's that action, it's that belief. When you couple those two together, some magic can happen, you know.
I mean, even like you and me, like we met through music.
Hmm.
You and me met because your brother was in my band. How did me and your brother met? It was because I joined the band that he was in. And there's a story of how you and me met because it goes back so far to I answered one email that someone sent me asking me if I wanted to audition for a band. And it's like there were all these steps to get us to where we are right now,
Yeah,
you know? It's just crazy, like, that whole thing just blows my mind, like, I would have never been right here in this moment if it wasn't for one decision, you know what I mean? It's like
yeah,
decisions will make or break you, and just meeting people will it's just crazy, it blows my mind. I can go talk about it for hours because 'cause I'm like, "Ah," my mind goes wild. If I didn't do this, I wouldn't have been here. If I
yeah.
did this, I wouldn't have been there, you know?
Yeah, that's what I love. I mean, you're right. There's so many things that every single person is, doing in their life, whether it's the person that they're with, or the job that they're in, or friendships that they have. Like when you actually sit and think about it, like you said, it's just like it's mind-blowing to see how actions that we made, and it sometimes comes down to one decision, can just like lead to this whole path, and just whether it's like this friendship, or just like just us talking, like we haven't talked in a while, and it's like
Yeah,
picking up where we left off. Like that's like I have like best friends, good friends that same thing. Like we all have our, we're busy with our own things. People have families and stuff like that.
mhm,
Jobs. Just people got busy, and but just knowing that you can just pick up where we left off, and that again, that's what comes back to those genuine connections. It's not
exactly.
because it's not like if I was someone that I talks to people and builds connections just to help myself out, like it won't be the same, because you're probably like, what does this guy want now, right? It's just
Yeah, no,
you know.
exactly.
So
Well, yeah,
you
yeah,
know,
exactly.
it's just like one of those things that, and there are some people, you know, um, that surround us who are like that, who are very transactional, and it's like that they're not really genuine. But over
Mhm,
time, like we decide for the most part how we control the people that surround us that we want to bring in, right? There's people that co-workers and people like that that we can't really control who's around us, but like this our close circle is like friends, connections, colleagues. Those are the people that, hey, like if you're with me and you're going to support me and you're about me, and I'm about you, and we're all in this together, like, hey, that's all good, like come in, like bring it in, because like that's one thing that I've grown into experience, and for myself, and just there are people who I did not see eye to eye on as far as the direction they were going, and I had to make a couple of tough decisions in my life too, and everyone at some point or another they kind of go through that same thing, and it's this path of discovery that I think just at the end of the day it it helps shape us and helps to strengthen, because those are the people who are going to support you through thick and thin, whether you
yeah,
talk yesterday or a year ago, like they got you, that
100%.
so
Yeah, that I know we're cutting close on time, but I wanted to just piggyback off of what you were saying. You
mhm,
know, I finally, well, I just turned 30 and I finally just realized that, sometimes people come to your life and you think, they're your best friend and they're going to support you, but don't be afraid to cut people out. I've just figured that out, because people are toxic. And
mhm.
when you are trying to be your best version of yourself and you're trying to hustle and you're trying to get somewhere, those people are going to drag you down. So if anyone's going to tune in and listen, just know that it's okay to cut people out. And I don't want to sound vicious, but don't hang out with certain people as much. Make better decisions on who surrounds yourself, or who you surround yourself with, because people will influence you, and you need to make better decisions than cut them out if they're going to be toxic to you. You know what I mean? It's like you really have to now focus your mind and really just know, who do I want supporting me? Who do I want to be in my inner circle? Because now it's like I got like 3 people that I talk to all the time. I mean, I have a whole group of friends and that I hang out with all the time. I have coworkers, but people that are really in your circle, you got to be careful, because
Yeah.
they're going to influence you, and you got to be careful who, are the people that are talking to you all the time, because if they tell you stuff, you're going to think, oh, maybe I shouldn't do that, maybe I should. It's like, no, focus and make your own decisions, because you got this.
Mhm. Haley, I love it. A lot of good stuff, and I know we can talk forever, but
I know. Ah,
it's always a pleasure, always a pleasure. And but you have to let me know, and when your next gigs are, try to make it out. Because yeah, it's always great to listen to you, especially like when you have other people, other like friends I made, in music, seeing you guys up there doing what you love, like, hey, like I said, go on and just have it at night and listen to good music, with good friends. That's what it's all about, So thank you again for coming on here and sharing your wealth of
of
knowledge and
course.
experience, and it's always a pleasure talking to you.
Oh, awesome. Thank you for having me. It was so nice. When you said we were going to do this, I was like, yes, I'm totally down, because I love your vibe, and I just love how, you just bring this positivity into the world. And it's such an awesome thing what you're doing. It's every time I talk to you, it's always something positive. So I love that.
I appreciate that, Haley. That's what I'm all about. It just, with all the negativity, all the BS that we see around us that's going on, yeah, I try to bring in my little corner of the world some sort of light, and try to help people, and like you do in your own way, and I love seeing that as well. That's why I connect with people like you and other people who are just bring that positive energy and just try to be that light amongst the darkness that
Yeah,
that we see around us. So I appreciate that,
of
and thank you for
course.
what you said too. Thank you.
Yeah,
Uh,
anytime, anytime.
All right. Well, again, thank you to my awesome guest, Haley Copello. If you want to get in contact with her, you can email her at Copello. It's Copello entertainment@gmail.com. You could also find her and follow her on Instagram and TikTok at Haley, HALEYJ Copello. And definitely, give her a follow because she has a lot of good stuff, a lot of new music coming out from what I'm hearing, right? So check
Yes,
her out.
yes.
You're on Spotify, right, already?
Mhm.
And
Spotify, all social media. I got some new music coming out. Hopefully this summer. I've been working for a year and a half. Nobody really knows it, but a year and a half on I got like 10 new tunes. So it's
wow,
gonna be exciting.
there you go, exclusive stuff. Here we go. We're excited. All right, that's gonna drop soon, so we'll definitely put a shout out once it does. So, all right, Haley. Well, again, thank you so much, and thank you all for listening. If you're on YouTube, subscribe below. And tell your friends about us. All right. So thank you, each and every one of you. Take care of yourselves and each other. Have a good day, y'all. Take care.